In this week's drive, we get a look inside rallying, go back to school, watch a new racer evolve, and ride for a good cause. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start with the final testing session of the year for the Moto GP riders at a chilly, rain-swept Jerez circuit in Spain. Double champion Valentino Rossi was one of several riders who tried to get some development laps on his Honda RC211V for the first time since the end of the 2002 season. He dominated the year with 11 wins in 16 races. The changeable track conditions were especially difficult for all 3 days. Low temperatures limited tyre grip, intermittent rain made tyre choice difficult, and occasional winter sunshine made for dazzling glare off the puddles. But apart from Rossi, virtually all the top riders are on new machines and were keen to get in as much track time as possible. So although Valentino didn't get much out of the session, most of the rest were happy to circulate at any pace.
So make the test in the wet condition is basically for nothing. Yes, Barros have the new bike, so he try. Melandri have a new bike, he try. Hayden have a new bike, but for me is not very important. And also today I make 10 laps for understand if I'm able to ride, but it's for nothing.
Nicky Hayden, the 21-year-old American Superbike champion, is Rossi's new teammate. He's the youngest AMA champion in the 27-year history of the series, and his win is Honda's 8th title. Hayden has very little experience of full wet tyres and welcomed the conditions, clocking up 57 laps on the wet track and gaining valuable knowledge of his new bike. Toru Okawa, Rossi's Japanese teammate in 2002, has moved sponsors but stays aboard a Honda for the forthcoming season. Former 250cc world champion Daijiro Kato got his hands on a new 4-stroke Honda later in the year and immediately threatened Rossi. With more development time, he must be considered a serious MotoGP title contender. Brazilian Alex Barros was the standout rider of last year. He challenged Rossi on his old Honda 2-stroke and then got onto his new 4-stroke and was immediately right on the pace. But the veteran racer is on a rival Yamaha this year and will know exactly what makes the Honda go so well. Spaniard Carlos Checa is one of the few riders who's on the same bike and in the same team for a second year. The Works Yamaha rider used the session to add to his local knowledge of the Jerez circuit. World 250cc champ Marco Melandri steps up to MotoGP for the new season, also on one of the Yamahas. He and Barros are contractually obligated to display no sponsorship until the end of the year. Frenchman Olivier Jacques also gets a new 4-stroke Yamaha and was glad to have some wet weather experience. After finishing runner-up in the 250 class in 2000, Shinji Nakano was MotoGP Rookie for the Year and 5th overall in 2001. He's hoping his new 4-stroke Yamaha will help him improve on his 11th place last year. Most teams will test again early in the year. We go now to Dubai for the final round of the Middle East Rally Championship. Mohammed Ben Sulayem won the rally for the 15th time to reach another milestone in his career, his 5th victory of the season and his 60th career success in the Middle East Series. Sulayem, who'd wrapped up his 14th Middle East Driver's Crown with victory in Jordan in September, was in control from start to finish in the Dubai. His win also confirmed Ford as Middle East Manufacturers Champion for a 6th time. Ben Sulayem won by 3 minutes and 59 seconds from Sheikh Abdallah Al Qasimi's similar Ford Focus WRC. Veteran Lebanese driver Michel Saleh was 5th on the day in his Toyota. British junior champion Justin Dale was in a strong 2nd place, but underestimated the conditions and rolled his Subaru into retirement on the 3rd stage. Ben Sulayem's fellow UAE driver Sheikh Khalid Al Qasimi claimed his first Middle East title as he took out the Group N class from Qatar's Misfa Al Mari, who had led the title race at the start of the event but suffered major mechanical problems. But the master was in control from start to finish. He won all but one of the stages. Also celebrating a Middle East title win was the UAE-based Ron Oakley and co-driver wife Julie, who squeezed into the top 10 in their Subaru to land the Super 1600 Championship. Ben Sulayem won all of his 5 victories in the championship on the same engine in his Ford Focus. A common sight, Ben Sulayem on the winner's ramp with English co-driver John Spiller. Second place again to Sheikh Abdallah Al Qasimi and Khalid Zakaria, also in Ford. He finished well ahead of his brother Khalid and Tariq Al Washour in their Mitsubishi Evo 6. Many motorsport enthusiasts have been looking from the once all-absorbing Formula One Championship to the World Rally Championship for the excitement that armchair motorsports can provide. Unlike Formula One, where the season effectively ended with Schumacher's win in France, the WRC provided thrills right to the final round. The rally revolution continues to gain momentum, with the WRC now challenging Formula One's position as the world's leading motorsport. As rallying battles to become a top 5 global sport within 3 years, it's now commanding the sponsorship, viewing figures and mass market appeal that Formula One has, up until now, dominated. The differences between the sports are obvious. While Formula One fans are kept increasingly at arm's length from the men, the machines and the action, rallying, even at the World Championship level, is still refreshingly approachable. Where once racing drivers were as enthusiastic as the fans that paid their wages, the stars of Formula One are increasingly a packaged marketing commodity in a sterile world. Whereas top rally drivers, who also command annual incomes in the millions, somehow retain a connection with the machines. The very nature of rallying across lengthy strips of countryside and often on what is usually a public road makes it easy for fans to get right up to the racing, even if the cars come past one at a time and the real battle is against the clock. And at some events, fans get a chance to get really close to the cars. Try this with Michael's Ferrari. The introduction of virtual spectator overcomes the singularity of rallying, at least on screen. Real-time data puts cars side by side and reveals exactly where the rally has been won or lost. Using GPS positioning technology and 3D animation, Virtual Spectator compares drivers' performances by viewing several drivers on the same stage at the same time. This parallel racing is now used in other sports like yachting. Each rally and all the cars are recreated in a virtual environment, and all the cars have GPS transponders, recording locations 5 times a second. And if you fancy taking the virtual wheel yourself, the second World Rally Championship video game will bring PlayStation fans even closer to the rally experience with advanced features and gameplay. The battle for TV viewers is intense. Formula One stands to lose up to 20% of its audience. But as we've reported, Formula One bosses are tackling the problem. Have you ever wondered how a works racer is built? Mitsubishi's new Pajero Evolution convincingly won its first race, the Dubai Desert Challenge, which was treated as a shakedown event for the main event, the Dakar Rally. A concept car was seen at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 2001, and a working prototype was at the Paris Motor Show a year later. Here's the process. Designers and engineers build the car in a computer-aided design software program which allows them to not only examine the individual parts from all angles, but also fit them up against other components on screen, Strengths can be calculated and testing carried out, to destruction if need be, all without a single part actually yet existing. If one part needs to be changed, it can be lengthened, strengthened and altered in seconds, and all the parts that are affected can be upgraded just as easily. Thanks to the power of computer networks, many designers can all work on the project at the same time, and all the designs are available to everyone at the same time. CAD programs save months and millions of dollars, and the digital data can be fed into complex milling and machining tools. Interestingly, Mitsubishi also made a full-sized clay model of the new car. Usually, racing teams make do with scale models. Full-sized clays are usually only made of production cars, prompting the suggestion that Mitsubishi will build a road-going replica of their new racer. Making a clay model is a job for skilled craftsmen and is a vital step in the styling exercise. And what it looks like is usually of secondary interest to how fast it goes to racing car constructors. But while that's going on, the tubular space frame roll cage is fabricated. This is another skilled job, as sections of high-strength tubing are accurately cut and welded to form the top and bottom sections of where the driver and co-driver will do their racing. This frame will see most components attached to it, so placing of mounting lugs is critical. It will also form a robust cage to protect the team in the event of a high-speed crash. The design of the frame also needs to accommodate the need to service and perhaps to replace some components in a hurry and often in less than ideal working conditions, which technicians might find in service areas around the world. The floor of the car is made of layers of carbon fiber composite, very light and very strong. The fibers are laid down in a mold in a particular direction, and the one-piece panel is cured in a large oven. Once it's set hard, the floor is lifted into the top and bottom half of the tubular space frame. The engine and transmission go in, but they may need to be changed individually, and the design needs to accommodate that. Then it's the assembly of the many hundreds of components that make up a modern racing vehicle. The one-piece body and all the other panels are also made in carbon fiber composite, strong and light. Eventually, the moment of truth arrives, when all the months of designing, fabricating and assembling will be put to the test. Prototype versions of the new model were tested in France and later in Morocco in the heat of the African summer. The Pajero Evolution conforms to the super production class introduced in 2002. This new machine was developed with the experience gained from entries in the Paris-Dakar Rally since 1983 and many rounds of the FIA Cross-Country Rally World Cup. The drivers of the new Pajero Evolution in the Dakar Rally are Japan's Hiroshi Masuoka, who took a long-awaited maiden victory in the event in 2002, and Frenchman Stefan Peterhansel, 6 times a winner of the Dakar with the Yamaha motorcycle team. The team signed Peterhansel at the beginning of 2001, and he won the Tunisia Rally. Peterhansel also won the new vehicle's first event, the Dubai Desert Challenge. Modified versions of the 2002 Dakar Rally winning Pajero are driven by the 1998 winner Jean-Pierre Fontenay of France and twice former world rally champion Miki Biasion of Italy. They also tackled the recent UAE Desert Challenge and finished 2nd and 3rd overall behind Peterhansel. Biasion, who won the rally championship with Lancia in 1988 and 89, joined the Mitsubishi team in the middle of the year. The UAE Desert Challenge was his first taste of cross-country rallying. After the initial shakedowns, it was back to the factory to make some minor adjustments and respond to initial driver and co-driver feedback, and to fine-tune the car's shape for high-speed aerodynamics in a huge wind tunnel. This is what most racing teams use those scale models for. Technicians will try various modifications to improve airflow over the car's body. The science of aerodynamics has had a marked effect in motorsport, as the flow of air can help keep a car on the ground and save both fuel and horsepower. Smooth trails mean a clean profile. Where the stream breaks up, there's turbulence that can create a zone of negative pressure, upsetting the car's balance and slowing it down. Often a car's frontal profile is clean, but how it leaves the air is slowing it down. Here, they're trying a small rear wing, which doesn't appear on the final version. Underfloor airflow is important too, even for off-road racing vehicles, and it aids heat extraction from the engine bay. With upgrades and minor changes made, the car, now wearing a coat of paint, was shipped to Morocco for hot weather and soft surface testing under simulated racing conditions. Technicians download data from a range of onboard sensors that measure parameters like suspension movement and shock temperature. After each session in the car, the drivers debrief engineers. Mitsubishi has filled all 3 podium places on the Dakar Rally 4 times and is looking for that 8th outright win, a feat only managed by Yamaha in the motorcycle section. Team winners include names like Hubert Auriol, the only competitor to win the Dakar on a bike and in a car, Kenjiro Shinazuka, the first Japanese winner, and Jutta Kleinschmidt, the only woman to win the marathon. Last year, Masuoka led a team sweep with factory Pajeros in the top 4 places. All the work was worthwhile when Peter Hansel won the Desert Challenge, although Masuoka's car suffered from an overheating transmission and lost time. It'll be right for the Dakar. The next generation of racing engineers are showing their skills on the track. The Society of Automotive Engineers invites students from the USA, the UK and Australia to build a small motorbike engined Formula car to contest a variety of tests. 18 teams from Japan, the US, Germany and Australia gathered at Carrum Downs in Australia. This was the 3rd year of the competition, held over 3 days as the teams made presentations on design, construction and the practicality of their cars, with tests of acceleration and grip. University of Wollongong entry leaves the pits. Teams have freedom of design, which wheels are driven and how the engines are tuned. The Australian Monash University squad opted for a huge rear wing. But their rivals, Redback Racing from the University of New South Wales, didn't and paid the price. The Deakin University squad were put out early by faulty electrics. Most teams built their own transmission, suspension parts, brake systems, induction and exhaust systems, rather than buying ready-made components. The University of Western Australia entry during the 22-kilometre feature race. The University of Sydney team opted for minimal bodywork to give the driver some space for movement. Tokyo Denki University from Japan were taking things seriously. The competition allows for creative design, a key difference to Formula One where the rules are tightly controlled. Formula SAE also demonstrates the need for teamwork, a vital ingredient for racing success. Times for acceleration, the race and the skid pan were combined. The defending champions, Rochester Institute of Technology from the US, were on the pace throughout. The team from University Stralsund in Germany weren't used to the hot Australian conditions in what is the European winter. The defending champs lock up and hit a cone, losing a point to finish 3rd. The team from the University of Western Australia was 2nd. When the racing was completed, the combined total of points was added up, and the overall winner was Steel City Racer from the University of Wollongong. It's likely that many of these talented young engineers will be working at a variety of race teams in different forms of racing around the world in years to come. The penultimate round of the World Formula One Powerboating Championships were held in Sharjah in the UAE. Guido Capellini had already retained his world title. He clinched the title with 3 races in hand, but failed to leave the grid on the official start, saying the sun in his eyes prevented him from seeing the lights. Before the first lap had been completed, the red flags were flying as Italian Fabio Comparato touched Felipe Desatene's outfit and both craft headed skywards. Comparato's boat landed upside down, but remarkably Desatene landed the right way up and was able to join the restart as rescuers picked up an unscathed Comparato. He was met by his relieved wife, but his boat was too badly damaged to join the restart. At the restart, Capellini seemed to have regained his composure and grabbed the lead. Amazingly, after taking 3 turn marks correctly, the multiple world champ was heading in the wrong direction before completing a single lap. He quickly realized his mistake and turned to retake the buoy, but officials ruled his maneuver illegal and the champion was disqualified without completing a lap. American Scott Gilman lost power and ended 4th. Desatene overcame his nerves after the first lap crash to challenge for the lead. The battle for the top 3 places was between Capellini's Italian teammate Massimo Ruggiero, Desatene, and Saudi Arabian pilot Laith Foroughen. The temperatures topping 25 degrees, the huge 2,200-metre circuit took its toll on machinery as boat after boat dropped by the wayside. Ruggiero was lucky to get away from this contact with a backmarker. For lap after lap, the Italian Ruggiero, Saudi Arabian Foroughen and Frenchman Desatene diced deck to deck. Despite getting within 2 meters of the Italian, Foroughen and Desatene had to settle for the minor places. With a handful of laps to go, Foroughen slips by Desatene to grab second place, 2 seconds behind the Italian Zepter pilot. In all, 25 drivers representing 13 nations took part in Sharjah. With Ruggiero, Foroughen and Desatene all collecting valuable points, the stage is set for a great finale to the championship, with only 2 points separating the 3 drivers chasing the silver medal championship position. Finally, we go back to Australia for the 25th annual motorcycle toy run, hosted by the Motorcycle Riders Association. Despite their less than savoury worldwide image, motorcyclists in most major cities around the world hold toy runs to gather toys for underprivileged children. In Australia, Christmas is in summer, so the turnout on the parades is usually good, with all manner of 2- and 3-wheeled vehicles taking part and the normally strict police just a little more lenient. The toys are collected by a charity organisation which works around the clock to distribute them and bring a little cheer to kids and families. No accurate count of the bikes on the ride was made, but organisers estimate it was about 12,000, making it one of the biggest ever, and about 25,000 toys were collected. The day becomes a festival of motorcycles with many showstoppers and rare bikes on display. It's all just a bit of fun, something we need a bit more of. So, whether you're slipping between the puddles, raising some dust, or making a splash, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.